Hello and welcome to another episode of ALLin Live. I'm your host, ALLin, and we're here for HEX Therapy. So I know we're going to get rated by the hexologist who's finishing up his set. So I'm going to play the long intro here and get us in the mood for some HEX Therapy, talking about dream science and the neuroscience of dreams and how to achieve your dreams and financial health with HEX. Thanks everybody for joining me today for this special episode of HEX Therapy Live, where we delve into the topic of dreams. And this has been requested by popular demand after we've covered a lot of other topics in psychology and in therapy. And so just to review, you can see the YouTube playlist that I've got there on the YouTube homepage, youtube.com/MattyAllin. And, oh, thanks. Yeah. New necklace. Thanks, Bran. So we've talked about a lot of different therapy topics, right? We've talked about all these things that are going to make your prefrontal cortex stronger so that you'll have those diamond hands. And so you won't sell your HEX too soon, right? Before the price moons. And so that takes cognitive control, right? And that takes having more activity in your prefrontal cortex. And so that's the unifying theme of HEX therapy is to understand that your physical and mental health, they go together and they help to create your financial health as well. So might as well remind you that this is not real therapy. This is not financial advice. Naga Bo sometimes says that this is a financial command. I don't know if I'll be commanding you to do anything other than to make sure you know about omega-3, which we've covered almost every show so far. So the prefrontal cortex is a really important part then of your financial and mental health, right? Because it allows you to have positive self-talk. So that's what last week we covered self-esteem. And the week before that, we covered personality, which is another fun topic. We talked about what personality type Richard might be, the founder of HEX. And for those of you who are new to the stream, or maybe you want a quick reminder, HEX is the top cryptocurrency, in my humble opinion, because it's better than Bitcoin in the sense that it pays trustless interest, which means you don't have to loan it out to anybody. You can hold it yourself and earn 40% APY, like the rest of us who are in HEX, by time locking your coins. Or you can just sit on them and wait for the price to go up. HEX went up 35,000% from its deepest discount in 2020 to the end of 2020. And many people are still up 100 times the money that they put in. And just like Bitcoin went up 550 million%, we expect that HEX being designed better and having better security will do even better than that. So work on your elevator pitches, people. I don't want to bore you with things you already know, but I'm here to give the good word to anybody who is stumbling upon the channel for the first time. We are using topics that should be interesting to a majority of people. And so that's the case of what we have today as we talk about dreams. So let's see where to begin with dreams. So we're going to be talking about more than one kind of dream today, right? There's the kind of dream that you have when you sleep. And that's kind of an automatic process. We'll be able to talk about why do some people dream and some people don't when they're sleeping. The other type of dream that we're going to talk about is more of like a goal. And so in HEX, a lot of people are practicing the behavior of delaying gratification. And that comes as an emergent property of having hard money. So that means you know what the economic policy is going forward. You know how many HEX is going to exist in the future. And so then you can plan to save your economic energy in this store of value, right? And somebody's saying that they can't wait to find out why you clicked this. Well, welcome. Yes, this is live, and the point here is the two different kinds of dreams we're going to talk about. One is what's going on when you're sleeping, and the other one is what's going on when you're planning for your future and you have dreams of where you want to be in the future, right? What economic or what savings goals you have, right? And so those are the things we'll be covering today. And then after you hear my speech on these topics that I've promised to cover, by using the good clickbait and the good thumbnail there that everybody's attracted to, then we'll talk more about HEX and check in with the chat and do all the things that we normally do on this channel. So first, let's talk about the kind of dreams that you have when you sleep. So not everybody remembers their dreams, and there's a lot of different neuroscience and scientific opinions about what dreams are. And to really understand dreams, we want to take a step back real quick and appreciate what it means to sleep. So sleeping is kind of a weird thing if you look at it, because humans have evolved to basically be lying in a prone position, easily able to be killed or attacked or something. And so there must be a pretty good reason why we do this. And There are a number of reasons why we spend like a third or a quarter of our lives sleeping is because it allows for your metabolism to adjust so that you're able to save energy. But it also allows for cells to repair. And in the brain, what it does is it allows for information to be processed, and most specifically for memories to be stored and destroyed. One thing that we don't always take for granted is, or that we don't always appreciate, and that we do take for granted is how amazing your meat computer really is. And when I say that, I mean the brain. The brain is such an amazing thing because it processes more information and holds more information than even we're able to do with this exponential growth of technology. Now, someday we might, we might reach the point where computers are more powerful than the human brain, but for now, there are plenty of things that the human brain does better than a computer. And one of those things is actually to remember what's important and forget what's not important. So when people sleep, basically what happens is you've got your information processing in the prefrontal cortex, and that's the part between your forehead and your temple here, and that's where your attention happens. So whenever you're going throughout your day, the things that you notice are the things that your prefrontal cortex is bringing to your attention through your sensory system. And then in the back of your head is your hippocampus, which is where all your memories are stored. And so basically when you sleep, it gives your brain the chance to transfer information between the hippocampus, where the memories are stored, and the prefrontal cortex, where the memories can be rearranged. And one of the most interesting things here is that no cell in your body is older than 7 years, but you are able to remember things from more than 7 years ago. How is this possible? Well, it's because you sleep. I feel like Bill Nye the Science Guy right now for some reason, but basically, because I'm geeking out with a bunch of people who are interested in this relationship between your mental health and your finances. So basically, slow waves are the only waves that can travel through matter. And so if you think about the bass of a sound system in somebody's car, when they're rolling through your neighborhood and they've got their stereo system turned up all the way, right? You're not going to hear the high frequency words to the song. You're only going to hear that bass beat, right? And that's because the bass is actually a slower wave. And so because the amplitude is slower and the frequency is slower, it can pass through objects easier than a high frequency wave that's going to bounce off of the particles in your wall, right? And so that's how sound can travel through objects, only slow wave sounds. And so when you're sleeping, then slow waves are basically what your brain is generating, and it allows for that information transfer across such a great distance from the back of your head to the front of your head. And that allows the certain brain cells that are starting to get worn out, because they're 6 years old. It allows those neurons to transfer their information, the memories that they hold, to the prefrontal cortex, where the information is then, it's organized, and then it's beamed back to newer cells in the hippocampus, right? And so that allows the memory to survive past its 7-year expiration date, right? Of these cells, right? Because if all you have is cells that are 7 years old, how else can you remember something other than this process of transferring the memory from one group of cells to younger cells. And so what happens when you're dreaming, in fact, is that you are recalling in your working memory, which is the part of your memory where you're experiencing your day-to-day life. If I have a thought, I'm using my working memory to experience that. If I'm having a memory, if I'm having a long-term memory, then my short-term and working memory is processing that in real time, right? And so when you wake up from a dream, what you're waking up to is all of those random bits of memories that have, it's like taking a snapshot at that moment, that your brain is sorting out the old memories and the new memories, right? And another interesting thing that the brain is doing at this moment where you wake up and you've got all these information fragments in your short-term memory, we have to remember that the brain is really good at forgetting things. And so I don't remember where I parked at Walmart 2 years ago because that's not useful information. And if my brain happened to hold on to every place I ever parked when I was at that location, then, then it would be very easy for me to get overloaded with information when I walk out of the store and I'm like, all right, I just need to know where I parked today, not every day. And there are a number of things that can go wrong actually, and people have perfect memories. So this is documented in various documentaries, but I've also seen it working in a mental health clinic. That's some people who have perfect or near perfect memories actually experience a lot of emotional problems. And part of that may be due to the information overload that happens, or for a number of other reasons. But it's fascinating that that it's actually a good thing when you forget things that are not useful. And so that fine tuning of what should be remembered and what shouldn't be remembered, there's a lot of brain space and there's a lot of time in your life that's dedicated to that processing. In one of my early streams, we looked at a device that you can get to increase the slow wave activity that you get while you're sleeping. And it's made by Philips, and it's a band that has an EEG sensor on it. So it measures the electrical activity. And then I like to say it injects audio waves, but that might sound kind of scary. Let's just say it pumps audio waves only when you're in the right stage of sleep. And these are things that you can't hear, or they don't wake you up. And it creates, through sound, these slow waves that then your brain waves can ride on top of, and can ride those waves in order to increase the total amount of time that you're spending in deep sleep, which is the most restorative stage of sleep. And so you can buy these devices. It's called the deep sleep, this deep sleep thing from Philips. You can buy them like practically new on eBay for $150. It should prevent Alzheimer's, which is a disorder that it turns out is probably related to sleep, and the failing of the brain later in life to achieve enough slow wave sleep to transfer memories out of those dying cells. And so this helps us to even explain Alzheimer's when we understand this process of restorative sleep, right? And of the function of sleep to not only repair cells, but also to transfer those memories out of the cells that are dying and that can't be repaired, right? And so when you wake up and you've got all this information, some of which you're supposed to be forgetting, and some of which is supposed to be transferred to long-term memory from that day. Also, things that are being beamed from long-term memory that need to stay in long-term memory, so they need to be transferred to a newer brain cell. All of these things passing through the prefrontal cortex, which again allows for complex organization to occur. So It's processing all the zeros and ones, or all the complicated signals that electrical to chemical signals that the brain is generating, and again, deciding what will be remembered and what won't. You wake up and it's like, you have this wild dream. You have something that oftentimes it might feel real, or it might seem absolutely ludicrous. And so so the reason why dreams can often be detected as not making sense is because of the randomness of the memories that are actually passing through the prefrontal cortex and your working memory at that moment. And so now people are going to say, well, what do dreams mean, right? Because we've just talked about what they are physically. But then people are going to want to take it to the next level, and they naturally do. And then they ask me, well, what about interpreting dreams, right? And it turns out that most people that you ask about this question, most neuroscientists or people with a background such as myself, like, they're just going to pick one belief system. They're going to be like, well, dreams don't mean anything because it's all physical, blah, 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 right? But they're actually not going to integrate the different disciplines that probably do make sense, right? And so luckily enough, I'm an interdisciplinarian, and I'm here to drop lots of truth bombs on you about how sleep works. So let me drink some tears of Hex haters here real quick. Oh, it tastes so good. So, what is the importance of dreams? So, Freud, right? And after him, so Freud was the first person to say, talking about things can help. And he came up in the Victorian era where literally you weren't allowed to talk about your problems, probably for like the government to help control everything. And so it was really taboo. It was like, well, you should be locked up. You're mentally ill because you're just talking about your problems. And so Freud was probably more political than people realize. And there was probably more fake news generated about him than people realize, because he really did threaten the government at the time by encouraging people and saying, talking about your problems can make them better. And so he's considered the father of psychology and psychotherapy specifically. And then many people came after him, right? And so he was actually interested a lot in the dynamics between different people, and in special cases, maybe where somebody was like so anxious they were paralyzed, or where somebody had a history of sexual abuse, and they were trying to deal with that, like severe PTSD cases and stuff. But so then there along came other people, including Carl Jung, who was all about interpreting dreams. And then that played out for a few decades, and then people came along and said, oh, like, dreams aren't real. There's nothing about dreams, nothing to see here. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. And so my take on this is, if you are wrestling with something in your mind, or if your mind wants to bring something to your attention and like it's highly repressed, which means you're not allowed to talk about it, then there are two things that can happen. One, you could actually have a dream, right? Because your brain is processing that information and it's modulating what's held in long-term memory. So that's one situation where you're actually having that dream, and it's because you are thinking about it and because your brain is processing it, whether it's conscious or not, right? And so that's kind of the take into the subconscious. If your brain is trying to tell you that something's important, and if it's giving it a priority in the memory system, then there's a chance that that those information bits are going to be held in the short-term memory when you wake up and say, oh, what is this dream, right? Because your prefrontal cortex is automatically assigning order to everything. And it's saying like, well, normally experiences come through short-term memory. So like this must be a memory if there are bits of information here in the working memory, short-term memory system. And so that's why it feels like you experienced it, is because that's where you would draw your experiences from normally. But again, during sleep, and part of the reason probably you're knocked out, other than cell regeneration and memory functioning, is just to make sure you don't act on the dreams, right? Like, so that there is kind of a separation. And so, so there's probably multiple biological reasons why dreaming only seems partially real. But I digress, or I give lots of specific details, right? So, so the other, so that's kind of the dream interpretation side of things that is based on reality, right? And then there's the other part that I think is due to people basically being repressed and like not being allowed to talk about certain issues. So like, if you think back to the Victorian era, or even now, and you think about whenever somebody's like not allowed to talk about something because it seems too crazy, right? They might be willing to at least say, well, I had a dream about it. And then everybody's like, oh yeah, like, of course we can talk about this. It was just a dream. So for example, you know, if let's say you're thinking about, you know, like leaving an abusive partner, and then like, you know, you have a dream that you left, right? Now you might be comfortable talking about that with somebody, whereas before it was kind of taboo, or it was off the table, or it was hard for you to like mentally get your head around, right? And so in the Victorian era, when you're not allowed to talk about your problems, well, talking about your dreams and just saying it was a dream, but it's really an issue that you're experiencing in your life, that's kind of like a workaround for that. So I think those are the two types of kind of like legitimate dream cases that there are for understanding the interpreting of dreams. Somebody's asking about lucid dreaming. Definitely an amazing topic. So this fits with like astral projection and like other stuff where people actually train themselves to become somewhat conscious during a dream in order to see if they can, you know, enjoy the imagination in a way where they're able to experience superpowers, or, you know, having some sort of like power that you wouldn't normally have in your regular life, in your regular reality. Right. And so there are specific techniques that you can look up that tell you what might work. Some people often recommend, like, you know, if you can train yourself like mentally before you go to sleep, like remember to flip a light switch, light switch, light switch, light switch. And then if you get to the point in your dream where you notice a light switch and then you try to flip it on, sometimes like that won't even change the lighting. And then that's a mental cue for yourself to realize like, oh, I'm in a dream. And then if you can achieve that awareness during a dream, then you know, like it's on, right? Like, and now you can, you know, load up all the supermodels, or you know, take off, start flying around. For me, I've had a couple lucid dreams in my younger years, and so for me, the trigger that I trained myself on, and I guess it happens every once in a while to some extent, but for me, and this is a weird thing, but it's like, you know, lucid dreaming, it's a weird topic to begin with, but like what I'll do in the dream is I'll like jump, and then when I land on the ground, then it feels like I'm on a trampoline, and then so the ground, it looks like it's a hard, normal ground, But in fact, when I bounce off the ground, then I'm bouncing like I'm on a trampoline. And then that's my cue. I know like, all right, well, now it's on. So then I can start flying. Just by like jumping higher and higher, and then just like, boom, like now I know I can fly. So I'm flying. Yeah. So there's all types of insane experiences that people can have when they're dreaming, and people can, it's hard maybe to believe if you haven't experienced it yourself, but it's definitely an interesting part of psychology that really isn't. So that part isn't as well understood. Other than what I would say is like, well, you already have an imagination, so you could have a daydream, right? When your brain is in like a low amplitude, or it's actually a high amplitude, slow wave state. So when people are really relaxed, they're in the alpha phase of brain waves, or they might be in theta. And so when people are in a relaxed state, then they're more able to maybe have a daydream or have their imagination take over. And so if we think of like an imagination as maybe you're 60% in reality or 70% in reality and 30% imagining something, right? And some people are more visual than others. Maybe when you're in a lucid dream, maybe then you have, 20% awareness of reality, like, oh, I shouldn't be able to do this, or, oh, I'm like experiencing this as it's happening, versus if you're 100% subconscious or unable to take action in that dream. Now, this brings us actually to another point that I was hoping to cover, which is sleep paralysis. And so we'll talk about that in nightmares next. So sleep paralysis is whenever you wake up and you realize that you're paralyzed and that you can't move. And so it's kind of like where you're stuck in the dream. And this can cause people to have like anxiety attacks, and it's actually almost a form of nightmare. And so this is more common in people who have a trauma history, but it can happen to anybody. And my specific recommendations for that, if you want to solve that, is to improve your sleep hygiene so that, the number one thing is, Adobe is trying to update. Get out of here, Adobe. I guess remind me later. Okay, so the first thing to do is to like calm down. And like what you would do is you would practice ahead of time. You would think about what it's going to be like when you're awake. You're going to think about what it's going to be like next time you're in a sleep paralysis. And then you're going to practice like calming yourself down and telling yourself like, I'm going to be okay. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Right. And then you can practice like calming yourself down. And that usually allows the person to like snap out of the sleep paralysis and go back into a restful state where they can wake up and then be able to move their body. Now, what I specifically recommend is practice lying completely still, not moving a muscle, and pretending like you're paralyzed, but being totally mentally calm. And what this will do is then if you wake up in a dream and you are paralyzed, if you try to move once, or maybe you don't even try to move at all, if you can wake up and like be comfortable not moving, then you're much less likely to get into that anxious state where you're stuck. Okay. So basically the more calm you can be and the more you can practice not moving and voluntarily being not moving your muscles, then the more likely it is that when you become aware of that state of sleep paralysis, then you don't freak out and get stuck, basically. Other things that people can do is to just improve their general sleep hygiene. So that means going to sleep and waking up within 1 hour of the same time. And then that'll help set your circadian rhythm. Getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, cutting down on caffeine and chocolate, if that's something that people are sensitive to, not having caffeine in the afternoon, only in the morning, having a lack of disruptions to your sleep. So like if you put your phone on do not disturb, right? And so it's not going off in the background while your brain's trying to sleep, using your bed only for sleep and sex, but not for lying around reading or lying around watching TV. Again, that's going to train your brain to like only sleep when you're in bed. And so if people have problems with insomnia, that's another trick, is like, don't lay there for 2 hours trying to fall asleep. If your brain won't do it, get up and get out of bed and do something else, sweep the floor or something, then go back and try again, so that your brain isn't learning, oh, like bed is for being awake or like being frustrated and not being able to fall asleep. So those are all things you can do to improve your sleep hygiene. Also, doing deep breathing before you fall asleep can improve your sleep quality. And then making sure that there's, just like there's no sound. You don't want there to be light that is disrupting, and you want the temperature to be good. You want to wash your bed sheets every week. That actually has a surprising effect on improving mental health if that's something people don't do. So these are all skills in order to improve your sleep hygiene, to make sure that you don't get stuck in some sort of sleep paralysis, and also that you're getting the most sleep quality out of your sleep time, right? Because some people, they can sleep for a long time and never wake up feeling fully rested. There are a number of sleep disorders that can improve whenever people get the right amount of exercise, when they quit smoking tobacco, cigarettes, and when they get a sleep study done. If you have obstructive sleep apnea, or if you have restless leg syndrome, that one is it's a real thing. Most people would joke about it though, because like it's such an oxymoron, right? Because your legs are supposed to move. So to say that you have a syndrome because your legs are moving sounds pretty silly to somebody, unless they realize that it's kind of like it's a situation where somebody has the urge to move, and like it doesn't matter how much they move, it's like overpowering them. It's making so they twitch in their sleep, and then their brain never gets into those deep stages of sleep. That's called periodic limb movement disorder, and it's present in like 95% of restless leg cases. And so literally like getting a sleep study, sometimes like medication isn't even needed. If somebody has an iron deficiency, that can be treated. Of course, you're not going to take iron if you are not deficient, because then that could lead to hemochromatosis, which is dangerous. So all you guys out there, like, be careful. Don't overload yourself with the iron. But these are all ways that you can heal basically certain sleep disorders, right? Or cure them or fix them is because in the case of iron, iron is needed it's the rate limiting factor in the conversion and creation of dopamine. When the dopamine molecule is like in its pre-dopamine form, so it's L-dopa, then iron is the ingredient that's needed in order to, it's when it's tyrosine, then in order to convert it to L-dopa, which is the precursor for dopamine, you need that iron as the energy source. And then, in fact, when you have enough dopamine, then your brain can create serotonin, which is a feel-good chemical as well. And so that's why a lot of people, if they have a sleep disorder, such as restless leg syndrome or insomnia or obstructive sleep apnea, then they're also going to experience daytime fatigue, depression. And these are also things where the dopamine systems are out of whack. And so very, very good to know how to improve your health. Not just in some cases, you're going to go to your doctor and medication is going to be the best approach, but in other cases, they're going to be lifestyle changes. And that's the exciting part about, about educating yourself, because in a lot of cases, this isn't therapy or medical advice. I'm just telling you what I've learned, right? I'm giving my free speech and I'm saying, this is what worked for me. Like, I went for a 4 mile run today. I feel great. I'm going to sleep like a baby. Right. And so, these are all things that are helpful. Is what else? So we talked about deep breathing to be able to fall asleep. Thought stopping is a good one. Whether you're counting sheep or whether you're like mentally telling yourself no to think about something you're worried about, you might want to like write a little bit in a journal to get everything out of your mind. And then you can go to that restful state where you're thinking happy thoughts, you're deep breathing, you're making sure your sleep environment is quality, and then your prefrontal cortex is going to function better. And then you're not going to get these silly ideas like selling all your HEX just so Wall Street can buy it up, and make you buy in at prices that are 10,000x higher or 1,000,000x higher, right? You're going to make those smart decisions maybe to stake longer because that pays better in the HEX system. And so, okay, so Hex King is saying most people have too much iron. Well, it depends on what demographic you have, right? Because iron is actually needed. It's the energy source for all living cells in the universe. And so your body does do a really good job of holding on to it, or it's supposed to, because it's so important for the functioning of your body. Iron deficiency, as defined as iron anemia, is there's a number of different measures of how much iron you have to be anemic. But in fact, if you are anemic, it turns out that means that your body doesn't have enough iron to regenerate even your organs. And so when people go into the severe range of that, they might like collapse one day, right? Or I mean, you could die from having no iron or not enough iron in your body. Just like your organs can fail if you have too much iron. And but your body sequesters iron because it's so important to keep away from viruses, because even viruses, they use iron as an energy source. And so, but yeah, it turns out people can take oral iron. It's kind of hard on the stomach if they are confirmed as being deficient, but you don't want to go around and just taking iron for no reason. Most men have enough iron because they don't menstruate, and they don't eat. They don't have diets that are deficient, like a vegetarian as much. Statistically, women are more likely to be vegetarian and not eat meat, which is an important source of iron. And then having babies also takes a lot of iron away from your body. And so, but it's interesting how the overlap is there with many more women being depressed, and depression actually responding, if it's a case of low iron, can respond to oral iron supplementation. And in a lot of cases, even IV iron is a really good approach with your doctor, because then your doctor is making sure that you're not getting too much iron. But it can, in basically a couple of days, it can address the problems that are being caused by low iron. Whereas if you're taking oral iron, like iron is a super hard mineral. And so your stomach, like even with all the stomach acid that it has, it's not going to be able to break it down super easily, and it's not going to be easy to absorb. And so, you'll see that it can sometimes take like 4 to 12 plus 16 weeks of somebody taking oral iron every day without milk within 2 hours, because then milk is basic, right, on the pH scale. And so then your stomach's filled with like anti-acid, and then it breaks down the iron even less, right? But so there's a lot of caveats to like train somebody to be able to raise their iron level themselves. And so some men can be deficient, but on average, most men have enough iron. Most women have a relative iron deficiency, but are not anemic. And even if you raise from a relative iron deficiency to it more in the normal range, more up to like ferritin of like 50 or 60, then you see like these cognitive improvements. You see like depression easing up. You see restless legs syndrome being treated. And it makes sense that like, right, because antidepressants, like one class is this selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, which is saying like, oh, you don't have enough serotonin, like let's recycle it faster, and then you can get these weird side effects like serotonin syndrome, where you're like obsessed with everything like that you're not supposed to be, or to have the opposite effect, and then people are even more depressed than ever or suicidal, gaining weight, all these things, when really it's the problem is your serotonin's low. So like, let's make more serotonin by increasing your dopamine, by getting you the right amount of iron in your body. So I know this is a tangent, but it's like, it's super important because your sleep does affect like your mood and your mental health and your investing habits, in fact. So I hope that this information is helpful, and I know we got a big audience still tuning in. So what else do we need to say about dreams? What other questions do people have about? So we talked about physical dreams. We talked about the neuroscience basis. Now let's get more into the software side of things and not just worry about all this hardware. And then we'll talk about what's the psychology of dreams. So when it comes to the dreams that are conscious, the goals that you have in your life, I want to share with you this extremely cool group that Franklin St. Hex created on Telegram. It's called t.me/hexdreams. And this is a place where people can share what kind of like financial goals they'll have whenever, they become the next Bitcoin billionaires, right? And so some people, they want a Lambo. Some people want a golden yacht, but you have to choose one of those two things only to do with your fortune. You're not allowed to give back to the world. You're not allowed to make the world a better place. You're not allowed to buy an island and live there happily for the rest of your life. Oh, wait, I'm just kidding. Like, you are allowed to do all those things. And so I know in that group, a lot of people share like how they would help others, right? How they would, but also the, the moon shot stuff, the stuff that, imagining great riches and, living far beyond your means now. But the cool thing about HEX and about even the HEX Dreams group is that it's made up of people who they see the way for them to get to that place of having so much excess savings, right, is by delaying gratification now. And we know that like in Bitcoin, if you held for 12 years and you didn't sell, right, like everybody sold because their Bitcoin went from $1 to $1,000, and they, now they got $1 million, and they're like, oh, it keeps crashing down to 100, 80, 90% crashes. Like, I better sell, right? I'm scared, right? The more value there is in there, then the more likely you are to check it and to change your psychology to the downside. But if you had locked your Bitcoin and you couldn't sell it, the price of Bitcoin would have gone higher faster, first of all, and you wouldn't have sold too early, and you'd be up 5 million times your money. So if you put $1,000 in at the beginning, then you'd have like $5 billion worth of Bitcoin, right? That just, how many people have $5 billion? That just shows you how many people sold because they didn't time lock, right? And so literally Bitcoin is like 2% or like 0.5% of the world economy now. And it's grown faster than anything in the history of humanity. And it's not even designed as well as HEX. So let's see. Cushion, freedom, those are the dreams. Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of people, they're going to be happy with things that aren't super expensive, but that just give them peace of mind, right? Are there reliable tests for serotonin level without prescription? I don't think so. I would use like a behavioral test. I would say like, if you're depressed, then we know you probably have low serotonin, or that could be part of the problem. And so that's when you would get the medical help that you need. And, talk to somebody who's on the clock and, figure out whether it's your environment, right, that can be changed, and using behavior change, then you would have more natural serotonin. You'd have a more natural solutions to the imbalance in the neural chemistry, right? If you live in an environment that's abusing you constantly, then your brain, it's releasing a bunch of stress hormones, and that in and of itself can lead to the brain shrinking in size and being chronically stressed and fatigued, and the chronic inflammation. It literally tears up your body to have all these stress hormones pumping through. Adrenaline, noradrenaline, right? All these, what's the other one? I can't think of it right now. I'm on the spot, people. What's the other stress hormone? It's like the most common one. Anyway, those things are bad for your body. They tear up your body. And so getting the help you need might come in the form of behavioral intervention, like counseling or therapy, or it might come in the form of medical treatment, right? Taking selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, aren't the only kind of antidepressant that's offered. There are other forms. For example, Wellbutrin is a kind that actually has the side effect of helping people quitting smoking tobacco cigarettes. Instead of just having bad things as your side effect. Also, if you have erectile dysfunction that is related to the depression, then Wellbutrin can actually cure that as well. Well, if it's the kind of ED that's caused by certain kinds, yeah, can be treated, the arousal aspect of that. Cortisol, thank you, Bitfinesse. Epinephrine, yeah, that's another one. I was thinking of cortisol. Okay, yeah, David's getting us back on track. But I'm just saying, right, that different medications are going to be different, are going to work best for different people. And so it's important to know that there are multiple options out there. There's even there are these genetic tests now that they have that can look at your genetic markers and look at what medications worked best for people like you, right? Okay, thanks, Chad. Yeah, you got it. I haven't been studying all the comments, and so I appreciate it. If you were first, you get credit. It can look at actually the pathways that control this stuff. Do you have too short serotonin transporter alleles, right? And then, then it can find the medication that works best for people with your same biology. So there's lots of cool stuff out there. Of course, I'm not sure how much the insurance companies and the medical establishment and all their paid politicians, I'm not sure how much they really want to cure things, right? Maybe they just want people to, pay higher and higher health premiums and have people keep coming back for more and more treatments. But I think there is a future in using all the data that we have in order to help people find the best medication with the fewest side effects without having to be a guinea pig every time around, right? And so and that in fact works for lots of different disorders that they've been cataloging not just depression. So like they could tell you what the best medicine is for you, for schizophrenia, for bipolar, for ADHD, right? Because they can look at the pathways, like what mechanism the medication works on, and then they can look for the genetic markers there, and then be able to tell, through matching up the studies of like who had side effects. Oh, that's why they had a terrible side effect, and like that's why we could just get your saliva sample and then make sure that your genetics is going to match up with the right medicine. I'm like blanking on like what this is called, but I can look it up and talk about it in the future. So there is, and this is the future. Really, the future of medicine is preventative, right? And so that's the idea that like before something goes wrong and breaks, you should be trying to fix it. And so that's another reason why I reviewed what is good sleep hygiene, because even if you don't have a sleep disorder, like even if you don't have Alzheimer's yet, like why wouldn't you want to take better care of yourself? Especially because HEX pays better. The more 15-year stakes you do one after another, then the more exponentially your gains and your interest will come. But also because people live longer than they expect. And so being able to take better care of yourself increases your health span, not just your lifespan. So that's the amount of years that you have quality time with your loved ones, when you retain your sense of self and who you are and your memories, and you're not in as much pain, right? Is there a HEX book club? Not that I know of yet. But yes, t.me/sci-vive is the book club. There's about 750 pages that Richard Hart has written in there. So that should keep you busy till the next book club meeting. Let's see, t.me/ I'll put it in the chat. Perfect. So we got sci-vive. I'm sure there's stuff in there about sleeping. We'll have to revisit all these HEX therapy topics, like while reviewing what sci-vive has to say about them, because obviously Richard Hart is a genius in many departments, not just inventing cryptocurrencies. Let's see. Yeah, what you eat. You are what you eat. And I know that it's surprising how much food can change your behavior, such as the example of omega-3, right? Where the omega-3 is used as the material that your body needs in order to myelinate axons. And what that means is to insulate the electrical wires, especially in the brain and the prefrontal cortex. You need enough omega-3. Cavemen and cavewomen got plenty of omega-3, but now it doesn't work its way up the food chain because people don't eat grass-fed meat, and the animals, they were eating all their omega-3s from like the grass. Most animals eat like genetically modified corn, which is great if you got 8 billion people and you want to put a little meat on the table. But the problem is, of course, that then that nutrition is missing, and then it's no wonder that people have such a hard time making healthy choices and healthy decisions and living their best life. Whenever, for me, my life changed when I started taking omega-3. And the caveat there is like, if you're on blood thinners, then you don't want to, you want to check with your doctor first. But this is literally something, in my opinion, and free speech, is safe because it's supposed to be in your food. So you could get it from your food, or you could get it from a supplement on Amazon. And I don't know, like my investments in HEX are doing so well. Like it's on my list of things to do is to like get a ref link to like omega-3 on Amazon. But like, I'm not going to wait to be able to give you, something that could change your life as much as it changed my life, and I don't know if having a ref link is going to like dox me on Amazon or something. There's all kinds of research that has to be done, but that's why I just share the link of like what I get, which is the Sam's Club version of omega-369, which It's you've heard me say before, and I'll say it again until everybody in the HEX space who's healthy and medically approved to take omega-3, you're taking it. All the people who are going to inherit your HEX, they're taking it too, right? And so everybody's prefrontal cortex is working better. Because for me, omega-3, just in the 4 weeks, it surprised me how much easier it was for me to do boring chores, to finish tasks that I was putting off, right? And it's because that electricity wasn't leaking out of my prefrontal cortex. And when I work in the clinic and I help people with mental health and substance abuse problems, right? Then I see life-changing benefits of omega-3. And so that's why I recommend that you check it out. This is not my referral link. Maybe someday you'll be able to get it through my referral link, but go ahead and get it now. And I know that there's a number of people in the chat who maybe have heard me talk about this in the first 3 months that I've been broadcasting, and they report that something's different, or maybe that their life has improved a lot. Now I saw Crypto Grandma is in the chat. She's been on my show before, and I wanted to shout her out because she's not only a physician, but somebody who's had tons of life experiences. She's invested in HEX. She cares about the world and other people. And she helped educate us about how we could protect ourselves during the pandemic, and how we can live better lives. And even she admits that we're barely scratching the surface of neurochemistry, and to live well longer, a lot more research is needed. Absolutely. And that's something that I think a lot of people in HEX have in common is, we're in favor of the founder, Richard Hart, being so passionate about forwarding medical research as a way for the world to really be better off, right? It's something that really benefits all of us, and it's something that doesn't make a whole lot of sense that there's not more investment being done in medical research compared to other markets where people just piss away money and even in that, I will go on rants. I will go on specific rants about how corruption in politics leads to inefficiencies in the medical system, and the plague of psychopathic middlemen that control medicine and government and finance. They are part of the problem. HEX solves this by taking middlemen out of the equation. We hope that it'll solve. Taking middlemen out of the equation takes away their power to use all of our economic energy to enrich themselves, create war, maintain their status quo, and to continue seeking rent and extracting people's mental health in favor of their own profits. And so there are a number of things that contain omega-3. Apparently CBD oil does, as well as chia seeds. Now, don't go. Now this is important. Listen up, because don't go eating your chia seeds from your chia pets, okay? Because those chia seeds, they have not been cleaned and approved for human consumption. Why do I know this? Well, because I talk a lot about omega-3, and I've been learning about it for a number of years. And that's just a fun trivia fact that I learned. Chia seeds they've been used even back in the time of the Spartans and ancient warriors. They would use chia seeds because they're extremely dense in energy, omega-3, and apparently antioxidants. So shout out to the Spartans who, they didn't use their chia seeds to grow pets, but they used them to grow better prefrontal cortices, right? Awesome. Okay, so dreams. Okay, there's another point I wanted to make. It's in the show description, and that is the idea that when you take a vacation, actually the planning and the mental resources that you use to look forward to the vacation can account for sometimes 50% or more of the enjoyment that you have overall in that vacation. So there's the time when you're like looking forward to the vacation and you're imagining like how awesome it's going to be. And then there's the time you're actually taking the vacation. Now, I don't know what kinds of vacations people are taking where it's a total bummer or something, but the point of the idea is that like, you know, you can go ahead and you can maximize or you can appreciate that anticipation and that excitement. And I think that's another thing that comes up for me when I think about HEX, when I think about how early we are, when I think about the dreams that I have for my life, for giving back to the world, and for being a part of a community that has that as a part of their ethos. Being a part of the HEX community where there are so many like-minded people who are not just caring about pump and dumping, right? But are in fact like signing up for a longer term investment where they're literally locking their money. There's been over $500 million locked in the HEX contract for an average of over 5 years, which is, this is an economic, I mean, it's something that's never happened before in economics, and certainly not in Bitcoin. So that leaves a lot of excitement on the table, and it also leaves a lot of time to like not know what you're going to do with yourself. And so what I recommend is staying busy with healthy activities, improving your prefrontal cortex, trying to become the best version of yourself that you can. Let's see. Very, very good. So that article is linked in the description below. There were like several articles I found that like touched on that topic. But that was the one that like didn't have to steal your email if you clicked on it. Like apparently National Geographic does now because they're owned by Disney or something. I don't know. I was trying to find some articles, because I love using that the show notes. People, you'll find like my Staker app link. Oh yeah. Like here, which like, I don't even know if that's working. Right. Like, and it's fine. Like I'm not like trying to make a bunch of money off the audience or something. What color do you want today? Green. What do we got? Yeah. So I've got my Staker referral link that may or may not work in the description below. But like, if you look at Bitcoin YouTubers who are all bought and sold by exchanges and who make their living by like leading you to the slaughterhouse in order to lose all your money trading with their Bybit links, and with, even if they're not doing that, right, they've got their little schemes where somebody else is going to hold on to your private keys and pay you 7% interest on your Bitcoin whenever you don't have any Bitcoin because you're not holding the private keys to it. So literally you're giving them 100% of your Bitcoin and they're giving you like 7% of it back per year in fiat. Like, it's the silliest thing I've ever heard of, but it's like super popular, right? As Bitcoin becomes more and more centralized because people are forgetting what it's about and because they're selling to centralized entities. So if you open their links, if you look at their description, you're gonna find a bunch of stuff that's like all trying to sell you on stuff. So I'm not really sure. I'm not gonna do any Bybit links. I'm not gonna tell you to send your crypto somewhere where you don't control it anymore. Am I gonna make some? I'll make some t-shirts. That's fine. But like, I don't even think the markup on that's gonna be really anything. And so in my description, you're gonna find useful things like what are the therapy topics, like what are the worksheets we've already gone over. Oh, there's a self-esteem worksheet. Oh, there's a emotional intelligence. I think I need to add the personality one. But like, I'm out here working on these show descriptions, like loading them up with free resources for you. And it makes me feel good about the HEX community and how we don't have a tragedy of the commons, or worse, a shilling of the commons, or worse, a bybit of the commons, where like, there's not enough abundance in these, in like the business of broadcasting. So like, now you just have to wreck all your followers and then like pay the algorithms to give you more new followers that you can wreck, right? Like that ain't cool. So if you made it here, like welcome, I think like pretty much like many of the donations, like I could say 100% of the donations I've gotten, I've either like I spent on the HEX conference, or I basically gave away. People tell me to stop doing giveaways now because like I probably gave away like $1,000 worth of HEX, right, in like $50 increments, and you can see it all on the chain. So it's like, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to be in HEX and to not be like so starved, right? So starved for money that you're just murdering your audience. So let's see. That's what people should be doing, is helping their audience, not hurting them. Okay, mental health. So now let's check in with everybody. Let's see who's in the comments and if you've learned anything, if this was helpful, and any questions that you have about mental health, about HEX. Watching Requiem for a Dream, very intense movie. Richard saw it for the first time the other day. He recommended it. It's pretty traumatic. Let's see. I'm starting to get to the feeling that I went to a different school than hexologists went to. Well, hexologists, that's where you have strength, is when you have people from different disciplines all contributing to a common cause. And people know how much I love the hexologists. And so I wish I would have known him in college. I think that would have been a lot of fun. We talked about lucid dreaming. Okay, you flew in your dreams once at will. Trapiavelli had a couple lucid dreams once. I spoiled the lucidity by getting too excited from realizing that it's a dream every single time. I'm sorry, Mr. Contrarian. It's amazing. All the people and things in your dreams is none other than you, your own experiences. True. Thanks, Maddie. I find the concept fascinating, but have never experienced a lucid dream. Maybe I don't recall it upon waking. Very true. That's the other thing I was going to say. People who use THC and or alcohol, those are substances that can actually inhibit REM sleep, which is the type of sleep that happens whenever you are in a dreaming state. And when you're more likely to remember a dream is when you wake up in REM sleep. And so then when you quit those substances and your body's readjusting, then you oftentimes will go into REM rebound. But there's lots of things that can cause poor REM sleep, even like just chronic sleep deprivation, which a lot of people have. Got to start focusing on daydreaming. Then I thought it wasn't a real thing, but it just happened to me once while I was on my couch just chilling. Very good. Very good. I'm glad that you've experienced a daydream now, Mr. Contrarian. Biffines says, So Biff Finesse and I, we're doing a show here in a couple days on Saturday. We're going to talk about encapsulated T-shares and whether they're good or bad. By that time, my YouTube poll will have ended, so we can see what the community thinks, given my extremely biased phrasing of the question for people to vote on. And you know, there are polls where you can try to find out what people think. There are polls where you can communicate what you think, and then there's both. So, you know, deal with it. You know, I really like the YouTube polls though. I just, since I hit since the community helped me hit 1,000 followers, and then I had to wait a week or two. Now YouTube lets me like do polls. There's 150 people answering these polls. Like, have you made money in HEX? Like, have you onboarded people? Like the numbers, they're like off the charts. So I know that it's 150 people who are super engaged in the community, who like care enough to answer this poll. I think it's fun. I like answering questions from other channels too. So if you see those, go ahead and make use of them. And that's really fun. You know, as like a data scientist, somebody who likes numbers and psychology and fundamentals and HEX, like I really like seeing the survey results. So thank you for the people who have answered the surveys. It's so much fun. But Biff and I, we're gonna have a lot of fun on Saturday when we talk about how to end middlemen, and that's one of the things that Biff and thankfully preaches on often. Let's see. The waking world is no different. The one appearing as many, Om Shanti Shanti. So that may be some sort of chant or something. Tell yourself, cool, I didn't even want to move anyway, then you might be able to move. Exactly. Only hot ladies in my bed, that's the rule. Okay, so you're not doing other things like watching TV and then causing yourself insomnia. Complete darkness, LEDs matter. I'm not sure. Maddie's seen the study where light was shown on a sleeper's feet and their brain lit up. Oh yeah, like a Christmas tree. That's true. How weird is that? Yeah, very interesting. Love clean sheets. Great info. Thank you, Duke of Booze. Okay. And most people, okay, we talked about iron. If you have an infection, the body removes iron from the blood to protect you. So measuring iron in only serum is not exact many times. Exactly. And even if you're measuring in ferritin, then if you've been sick within the past 6 weeks, then you're going to get a false reading. But you can know that you're getting a false reading if you measure the C-reactive protein, usually. So if you do a serum ferritin test plus C-reactive protein, then you're going to be able to measure that relative iron deficiency that you're not going to be able to see simply from doing a hematocrit test or whatever else you can find on the normal complete blood count, like, you know, mean colorectal volume and red RDW, red cell distribution with that's another one that can give you a clue that the iron isn't there, right? Because it's a false positive almost, or it's like not a false positive, but it looks like there's iron there if you've been sick and you measure serum ferritin, because it's going to be falsely elevated, and you see that with the CRP, but you can also see it with the RDW, because when you're low on iron, then your body is like not even having enough energy to like spit out good versions of red blood cells. And so like there's a greater distribution in the width of your red blood cells. Like some of your red blood cells, they're going to be like super skinny, and not able to do very much. And others, they're going to be too wide. And then they're just like, chugging along. But like, it's actually a measure of health, and specifically of like iron being sufficient whenever that red cell distribution width is more standardized. So there's not as much variability in it. Like, just make the red blood cells the right size, people. All right, like just have enough iron to do that, please. Iron can generate cancer. So did I answer that? Yeah. Okay. Because iron can generate cancer-causing free radicals by acting as a pro-oxidant, iron is like a double-edged sword. Too little and you risk anemia. Too much and you may have an increased cancer or heart disease risk. Way too much and you have hemochromatosis, which is where your organs fail because they're all filled up with iron. Good stream. I'm glad you think so, Hex King. I appreciate it. Your iron is too high. Okay, that's not good. Talk to your medical doctor. Some want to push back the world from steam, rollering them, cushion, freedom. Those are the dreams. Yes. Okay, I saw your comment earlier and commented on the last part of it, that freedom is a dream. Let's see. Are there reliable tests? Okay, answered that. Cortisol. Remember, you can never be depressed. You are the experiencer of depression. Wow, I like that, Glaucomatic. The experience and the experiencer are always different. Oh, we might get into some really good dialectical behavior therapy and mindfulness types of streams in the future. I'm keeping a list of future topics that are inspired by questions people ask and points that people raise. Let me put that on here. So this is like mindfulness, separating yourself from your feelings. I feel like I probably touched on that a little bit before, but we're gonna have another episode of emotional IQ so people can go back and measure their emotional IQ change over time due to the increase in awareness. And then we'll really, I think, be able to hit that topic of separating yourself from your moods and emotions. And right, because like depression, it's like you could be in a depressed mood. You could have an emotion that is in the depression category, right? So an emotion is something that you experience on a short time scale. If it persists, then it becomes a mood. If that persists, then it becomes a mood disorder if it's in the wrong direction. So we can talk about that, separating your emotions. Awesome. Let's see. Epinephrine. SSRIs have been a lifesaver for me. I'm very glad, David. And literally, antidepressant medications can save people's lives. You had bad PTSD from a psychedelic mushroom trip, and they've helped you to thrive and be normal again. I'm so glad. Yes. Let's see. Okay. Chad, making sure that I'm seeing all the comments. Do you need more serotonin for your memory? I don't know of any connection there, other than the more active you are, then the better deep sleep you're going to get, usually. And then that has an indirect effect on between serotonin and memory, right? Because that's going to naturally allow the brain to have its chemical to electrical signals. I mean, so like, let's ask, so why does electroshock therapy work as in cases where no depression treatment has, so treatment resistant depression can be helped by electroshock therapy. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, how barbaric is that? Well, a lot less barbaric than you would think. This can save people's lives and change them when nothing else would work. And the mechanism that it uses for that is by like resetting the charges in between the neurons in your brain actually like the resting electrical state of each of your neurons. And it's like waiting for those chemicals to build up like serotonin so that it can fire and like send its signals and say like, oh, I'm happy, I have energy, everything's good. In some cases, because that resting charge doesn't regenerate to whatever it is, negative 65 microvolts or something, it doesn't matter how many chemicals build up, then like that part of the circuit like just won't fire. And so it's really like it's part of your brain is literally off, like just these small like connections, but that can lead to a greater problem. And so that's another reason sometimes when people get good sleep, then it can help like reset some of those charges that can't go back to their right charge, and so they can't fire. But the electroshock therapy does that like to an extreme degree where it's not happening naturally. So the electricity goes through, like it's not as horrific as you see like on the movies or something, but I mean, it's still like, it's a serious medical procedure that's ordered by like an experienced psychiatrist. But I mean, what, like, do you want to get better and like go back to normal or go back to better than ever? Because you're not suffering from this super severe depression. Yeah, it like knocks out your short-term memory, right? For like a couple hours prior to the event. But then, and I mean, like that seems super shady too, but you just have to like explain to people and hear the testimonies of how it does change people's lives and how the actual neuroscience of it works. And then you get super excited for electrocuting people in the head, with all the medical precautions necessary. Everything they put in our food gives us problems. Very true. Excited about this topic? Thank you. They label autoimmune disease, but diseases can be just mental. Yeah, there's the future of mental health treatment, I think, will be bacterial even because of the gut-brain axis. We'll do an episode about that. Gut-brain axis. Yeah, what you eat can control your thoughts. You heard it here first. Unless you heard it somewhere else, and then you also heard it here. This system is so bad. It's so backwards. Yes. Got some flax seeds from the grocery store last week. I never thought there would be this big of a difference. Wow. I'm so excited for you that you're already. So the ogliodendrocytes are the cells. They're the neuroglia cells in the brain. They're the worker cells that maintain the neurons. They actually send lots of messages that we didn't realize when they were being named neural glue. But an ogliodendrocyte is one of those types of cells that installs the omega-3 to create the myelinated axon, which is that insulated electrical wire so the electricity doesn't leak out. So it takes about a week to 4 weeks to be able to see the benefits of keeping that electricity in your brain, right? Like imagine not having to think as hard all the time and not having to jam as much electricity through the system just to get like the smallest results, right? The smallest cognitions. Like literally the power of your thinking in your mind like can be greater when the electrical system is working and insulated. So I'm super glad that people are taking omegas. What do I advise as a starting dosage? Okay. Not medical advice. Talk to your doctor first. For me, what did I do? I looked at my diet and I said, oh, I'm not getting hardly any omega-3s in my diet. So what do I need? Well, I'm looking at Mayo Clinic. I'm looking at what's recommended, and it's saying like 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams per day. And it says don't take 4,000 milligrams and like maybe don't take 3. So what I would tell somebody, or what I would do myself, is I would start off with 1,000 milligrams per day with food for the first week, and then 2,000 milligrams per day after that. And what I've settled on is 1,600 milligrams per day. I've been taking it for 4 years. Yes, importance of gut health. Okay, see, I think you commented this before I even went on my rant just a minute ago about that. So like I said, 1,000 milligrams with food for the first week, as long as that's well tolerated, which it should be 2,000 milligrams after that. If you're already eating fish, such as salmon, every other day, you might be getting enough omega-3 already. So you can look at your diet, you can see how much omega-3 you're already getting, and then you can make sure that it fits with like what you should be getting, which is like 1 to 2 grams. I think it's subconsciously due to fear. Once you've made peace with death, the idea of living vastly longer can be intimidating. Interesting topic. Leaky gut leads to inflammation. They call fat, but they don't describe it that way. Oh, that's a fascinating way of looking at it. Huh. Look at that. Leaky gut leads to inflammation that they call fat, but they don't describe it that way. Chia. Like, Hex Clips, where you at? Like 1 hour, 31 minutes, 20 seconds in. Chia. All right, but like, if you're going to clip that, at least catch one of my rants about why I'm talking about chia seeds is to like improve your prefrontal cortex by insulating the electrical wires, giving your body what it needs. The omega-3 is converted into the myelin sheath that insulates your electrical wires and causes the decision-making part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, to do its job and make healthy choices. I was an Aztec warrior clan that depended on chia seeds. Very good. I'm not sure if I read that correctly, but I believe you, and I thank you for your service. So just plan vacations and never go on them. Yeah, well, that would be an experiment that you could try. Hello, welcome to our chia seed discussion streams. Exactly. Yeah. Now I know what I want for Christmas is like my face on a chia pet, right? They don't pay back in Bitcoin. I don't know. Do they? I mean, like, I'm not going to give them my seed words. I'm not going to give them, well, I never give anybody my seed words. I'm not going to like let them hold on to my Bitcoin in the first place. But yeah, I think that's how Anthony Pompliano has described it, is that he gets a check in the mail every month from BlockFi, who holds all of his Bitcoin, and he is a part owner in the company. So that's why he's telling people to destroy their Bitcoin and give it away for free and only get 7% back per year in fiat. Yeah, worse than I thought. When I think about it, it's worse than I thought too. Like what? So it's like this 7% for like the price that month, and the price just keeps going up by like 600%. So like, yeah, pitiful. Like, yeah. All right. Get out of here, BlockFi. We need some Maddie merch. All right. I've got you covered. Tune in this weekend and I'll debut it. We appreciate you, man. Your kind heart shines through the YouTube videos. Thank you, Crypto2103. Maddie Wiggs. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm gonna auction my hair at that famous British place where people auction things, or not. Maybe I'll just keep it until I go bald. We'll see. Maddie Chia Pets. Yeah. Preach. Thanks, Crypto Grandma. Maddie, ALLin. Be real. I appreciate you guys. Awesome talk. Thank you. Wow, I said something that people like. What's my favorite movie? Donnie Darko. That's a pretty good one. If you're like trying to come of age and be really weird, and a cult classic, and have Jake Gyllenhaal and have an interesting story about time travel, and I don't know, like, I'm not going to ruin it for you. How long should I take omega-3 for? Well, I plan on taking omega-3 as long as I need my brain to be insulated with its electrical wires, right? So like, humans are designed to take omega-3 in one form or another until they die, right? Like, it's a basic building block of your body. Your eyeballs are made of omega-3, right? Because it's a rubbery material that your body needs. The wires that go to your muscles, they're insulated with the same material as the wires in your brain. 25% of the weight of your brain is supposed to be made from omega-3, if that tells you anything. So it's also, I'm going to point out that it's false that people don't use 100% of their brain. That's like a misconception. Like, if you didn't use part of your brain, it would die, because like, why are we running all this electricity to a part that isn't even doing anything? So like, of course, like, all your brain cells aren't firing all at the same time, but there's this simplified wives' tale or some sort of like thing where people's like, oh, we only use 15% of our brains. Like, well, I mean, we're all trying to use as much percent as we can all the time. And those of us who are taking care of our brains are doing better, a higher percentage. We got a higher ROI on our brains, return on investment, to put the HEX and the omega-3 together. Thoughts on lucid dreaming? Covered it earlier. CBD might help with anxiety or insomnia, I think. Put a link in Twitter. Oh, thanks, Crypto Grandma, sharing the video. I appreciate it. And all the fun emojis there too. Polls will get seen by non-subscribers too. Oh, good way to grow. Awesome. Very good to know. I will keep that in mind as I craft the polls going forward. I've really, well, I guess the ones that I've done, I was going to save it, but for like a quant gang or something. But I can run through it real quick here. I'm so excited about the polls, people. Come on, it's like, it's HEX Therapy, it's Quant Gang, like it's a combination of everything, right? To look at numbers, about psychology, about HEX. Gosh, I can't even control my excitement. Let's go into YouTube Studio here and take a look. I'll share my screen with you guys here. I think I'm getting caught up on the comments, kind of a little bit, maybe. Let me see. Here we go. Share. Let's see. Share screen. Dead air. Here we go. Application window. There we go. Okay, so it's behind the scenes. YouTube Creator Studio. Posts. All right. First one. Look at this. 167 votes. That's awesome. Like, when I was a freshman in college doing a psychology course, we spent a whole semester just trying to get 100 people to fill out a survey, probably. Actually, I don't know. Mine, I remember my first psychology experiment. It was, we went all out. Like, everybody else just did a survey, like, something completely irrelevant to psychology. But we did something where we gave people questions from an ACT test, and then it's like such a bad experiment, but so much effort put into it. And then we also asked them on the survey what kind of music they liked. Then we randomly assigned them to either listen to music that they don't like or listen to music that they like while they're taking the test to see if the music affected their performance. And I think we might have even done it within subjects design where we like half the time they were answering questions with music that they liked. And then the other half of the time, like the same person was, so like if somebody hates like metal, then we would make them listen to metal for the first half of the ACT. It was weird. But like then, you know, I went on to like measuring brain waves and like all this other stuff, but I just thought it was a funny thing. Okay, so what are we looking at here? Much easier to do this poll though. Let's see. So the first one was on February 22nd. So we haven't been doing this long. It says, are your crypto holdings still worth more than when you bought them? Can I make this any bigger here? Are your crypto holdings still worth more than when you bought them? Yes, I'm in the money. No, I'm in the red. Wow. 93% of people are saying that they're in the red. That's really, really cool. Let's see. So those numbers are huge. 93% in the money. I wonder if we're at it's so hard to call a top in crypto, but Richard was like, he was kind of saying, well, maybe, I mean, at least for Bitcoin or something, how many more people are going to buy after Michael Saylor? Who knows, right? Let's see. Next poll I did, 152 votes. I said, wow, the last poll says 96% of people are in the money. Next poll, how many people have you ever onboarded into HEX, including gifted HEX? And I found it was like 87% have onboarded somebody. And then I gave like a different classification, like, are you a minnow of onboarding? If you onboard 1 to 5 people, why 1 to 5? I don't know. They're random numbers. Pro hexakin, if you've onboarded 6 to 10, Hex maxi status, 11 to 20, and over 20 people, community, architect, builder, A+, was 6%. 9% was 11 to 20. 16% was 6 to 10. 13% had, only 13% had onboarded 0. Like, that's amazing. This seems like amazing statistics. And then I said, go ahead and tell people to use $hex.com, which is one of my Staker app referral links that may or may not be working. Another one is staker.fun. If you want to use that one, it'll take you to my Staker app referral. And then like you won't be able to trade HEX on there yet because they have to buy you a $60 smart wallet and you have to get in line. But I'm guessing that the pitch will get better and better as some of these barriers get removed. So for now, I can't tell you that's gonna help you out immediately. Other than, I mean, you're getting in line for the smart wallet, so get in there and use my referral link if you want, and then I'll tell you whether it's a good or bad deal. The more we talk about it, I know that they're still figuring everything out. So I'm a tester. I'm an early adopter with this Staker wallet, and it does some really cool stuff. So very hard to be disappointed with the Staker team and how amazing their work is and how knowledgeable they are using Gnosis safes. I mean, it's the future social recovery. So you can't lose your crypto. We'll talk about that in the future. We'll do a special episode. Okay. So I'm trying, you can see I'm trying to like repeat the results so people see them because I never see the results of what it was on the survey I voted for. So I put the results in the next question. 94% of respondents investing in HEX are in the money, and 88% have already onboarded at least one other person. And then the new poll here was that 153 people voted in. if you currently own HEX, did you ever own Bitcoin? And I broke it into 4 different categories. 78% fall into the OG coiner label that I created, which says I own HEX and ever owned Bitcoin. That's extremely high. Wow. 17% fall into the HEX coiner category. I own HEX and never owned Bitcoin. That's extremely fascinating to me. People who came straight in and skipped Bitcoin and went straight to HEX. 3% of respondents. So it's biased, right? Because it's people who follow my HEX channel. So it's, it's going to be biased. This isn't telling you just any population, but it's speaking more to the HEX population. I own Bitcoin and never bought HEX. I'm labeling you as an old coiner. I'm sorry. Hey, I was an old coiner once too. But now I fit into the category of I own HEX and ever owned Bitcoin. Yes. And then a no coiner is somebody who never owned Bitcoin or HEX. I could have said also every other cryptocurrency in the world, but wow. So that is 94% of the audience has owned HEX or owns HEX. That's that might be to be expected, but it's still interesting. I think the breakdown between people who own HEX and they owned Bitcoin versus people who never owned Bitcoin, I'm surprised by both of those numbers being as they are. Very cool. Very cool. So now so then I used a community post to promote. We're doing a special episode of HEX Therapy Live with the 3 other psychology professionals in HEX. Nerd Girl. I set a premiere. So I set up last night. I set a premiere to replay Nerd Girl's conference, first HEX conference speech, 16 or 18 minutes long, before Hexo went on tonight. And then I had a bunch of stuff come up in my clinic. So I was helping people with their mental health, and it slipped my mind that I set up the premiere. So I wanted to watch it as it premiered, but it was already live. So people can watch that at their leisure. And I know that the last one I presented was John Wick. I cut out his speech because he was coming on Quant Gang. So I cut out a Nerd Girl speech and highlighted it because she's coming on HEX Therapy here. And then we've got Blaze, who was on Discourse Syndicate the other night and is a very, very talented musician, a psychologist, and a promoter of HEX now. And so we're very excited to have her to be on the program. And of course, you've seen him on before. One of my favorite episodes of HEX Therapy Live was with the Joker, who is not only a psychologist, but also truly his character represents something about mental health. So let me see here. And then the final question. Now, this is a very biased question. I admit it. How do you like encapsulated t-shirts where middlemen break the truth engine in HEX by creating derivative max length stakes to steal value from honest stakers? So biased. That way, when Wall Street and Uncle Sam create an emergency, we can make sure to have a mechanism for them to still buy cheap coins and make sure that Wall Street stakers can sell too early. Selling whenever you want is a downgrade. And I love that 19% of people disagreed with me. That shows me something healthy. There's only 52 votes so far. Somebody wanted a link. So I'll add this. And I don't know if you can see all of them at once. Otherwise, we're going to have to start putting links more easily seen. But so far, there's been 52 votes. And 19% of people love what I'm calling fake HEX, which, encapsulated t-shirts, they might work out great. But I know that the community is going to discuss it and, is going to figure out whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. For me, I don't know. I'm not claiming to know. But I will have special episodes about it. And so we're going to learn together. And so very interesting results. Thank you for learning about this survey. So now when does Wales Only go live here? Is he live now? Let me see. I'm about to wrap up here. I just want to know if we have time to get through the rest of the comments, or I'm a big fan of my co-host Wales Only, and I caught him on Discourse Syndicate last night. It was an excellent episode. You should definitely tune in and watch it. All the episodes of Hex Quant Gang actually just surpassed the amount of time that we did our 5 episodes. Went longer than the HEX conference did, the whole HEX conference, all 4 days. So we are cranking out. And it's like there's thousands of people tuning in to the HEX Quant Gang. So you can see in the description below, there's a playlist for beginners, 10 minutes long, that tells you about HEX. Then there's an intermediate level, which is everything we knew about HEX during the conference, which is probably intermediate/advanced. And there's 27 hours of that. And then below that, there's an advanced playlist to teach you about HEX. And that's the HEX Quant Gang that gets into, I mean, I'm not going to say it's like more advanced than the conference, but it's new. It's information that can continue to be updated as we're doing it weekly on Tuesday nights. So check it out. And I'm just going on here. Maybe somebody in the comments knows whether Wales is live in 20 minutes. Okay. So we will raid Wales, and that timing is going to work out perfectly, isn't it? And I'm going to be onboarding somebody I know into HEX tonight, and so there'll be plenty of time for all this. Let's see. So I'm going to share my screen again, just so I can show you a little bit about what the HEX Gang is doing, what we've been up to. You can see here on the YouTube page, we got the HEX Therapy special session coming up on Saturday. Saturday evening after HEXO will be the 4 psychology professionals in HEX. And on Saturday in the afternoon, Bitfinesse and I will do a show. And I get so excited about the Quant Gang. I already have our thumbnail created for next week, naming the 6th episode with Kareem and Wales Only, How to Shark in Crypto. Where do we get these names from? Who knows? Our last episode, which is 5 views away from hitting 1,000 already, just on YouTube, which doesn't count the hundreds that we get on Twitter, and the hundreds or some change that we get on Twitch, and all the other places where we're streaming. Who even knows? The other night, Gary was putting us on Clubhouse, and then came on the stream and told us, and we're like, wow, yay, we're on Clubhouse. Let's see. So this one was called Emergency Start Stake. Very clever. And then there's one I did here that's highlighting a finding that Wales Only did about the price to earnings ratio in HEX being so low. That's an incredible statistic that we can help people to understand just in one number how valuable this could be. And then, I did a show last week on Saturday with Naga Bo, and we reviewed all the things that this one hedge fund could be, all the tricks they could be up to, trying to scare people into selling their HEX before this big stake comes out in less than 2 weeks. But we don't think that Silver the Antidote first reported this story, and if I learn something from somebody else, you better bet that I'm going to link to them in the description, and I'm going to give them as much credit as I can. And in HEX, we got such an amazing community. We learn from each other all the time. Last week, we did self-esteem as an action verb. I really love that topic. So there's a lot here to check out. There's the HEX Quant Gang playlist. Wow, that first episode, 4K, 4,000, over 4,000 views on YouTube alone. And then here's the one for explaining HEX in 10 minutes with these 3 videos that are cartooned and gamified and will repeat the information a couple different ways so that people can really grasp it, right? And so it was, let me see, it was somebody was saying that it was crypto Kool-Aid. His suggestion was, before you onboard somebody, like in order for them to earn the right to talk to you and get your advice about crypto and have you help them, you should make them watch a YouTube playlist of your choosing so that they'll get the basic information in a quick, digestible format. Personally, I'm using this because I've literally spent over an hour explaining what something is, basic like T-shares, to get to that point with somebody. And when in 10 minutes, they could have listened to all 3 of these videos, 6 times over, and they could be teaching me about what a T-share is, right? So like, that's all about using our time efficiently to onboard people. So feel free to use this playlist with the people that you work with. I mean, these are 3 videos that were made. I think one, David Morales helped, he's in the chat. I think he helped make it or knows who did. Excellent. And then here are my uploads. Here's Nerd Girl speaking. Excellent content. Then all the HEX cameos I made to debut before I was ready to show my face. That first, those first 2 or 3 weeks I was in HEX, nobody knew what kind of beautiful hair I had yet. And so that's what we got there in the playlist in the description below. So check that out, everybody. And let me see. Where did we leave off in the comments? Want to say hi to everybody. Blue Bomb, I'm glad we got you the link to that poll, hopefully. You want encapsulated stakes, David? Well, we're going to make sure you get them as long as they're safe and don't break the game theory of HEX. And listen, I'm so excited about having something in HEX that we don't understand. Like, we're going to get to figure it out together. You saw Kareem and I like go neck to neck for round 1 of encapsulated T-shares. And I've been thinking, like, I'm going to do some episodes about encapsulated T-shares. I'm going to break it down for people. And I'm going to remind people that I published the first article about tradable T-shares like way before the conference, before Big Payday. Like, I was talking about that like a month before Big Payday, how to like stake coins on cold storage wallets and then like gift them to people. So that's my qualification. Is I've been already doing it and thinking about it for a long time. So I hope I can contribute something to the conversation, and I can help be part of the group, the think tank that makes sure that we understand how this will affect the game theory behind HEX. Because Richard Hart, he said it himself, he would have to think about it for a week straight just to understand all the finite detail, like all the intricate details of how it would interact with the game theory behind HEX. When Bitfinesse ends middlemen, it's not a pretty sight at all. I think it's beautiful, Hex Monkey. I think you're right. It's not a pretty sight. And I think we can agree there. Let's see. Light on the feet experiment makes sense. The electric body. That's why we need iron. Gonna start needing 2 disclaimers. No financial advice, no medical advice. Good stuff. Yeah, in the description below. I have said that this might not, I don't know, is definitely none of those things. Donate blood is a good way to lower your iron. Hey, that's true. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. You're taking this to a new level. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate, when you guys say kind things, it really, it means a lot to me. Even if you just watch and don't say anything, it means a lot to see that there are people listening and, finding it helpful or passing the time, whatever you're doing here. I hope it's helpful, the information that we're sharing. It'd be nice to talk about convincing yourself that talking to someone and getting help is needed, because I'm sure I'm super depressed, lost in life. I can't make myself get this type of help. For example, talking to a therapist. Sure. I think there's a stigma around talking to a therapist that, even therapists sometimes, like, they didn't get trained to be able to even ask for help. Like, if going to a therapist means you're a broken person and you're never going to get better, that's not how we want to think about it. And that's not even true. Like, I went to the type of like psychological training in a clinical psychology PhD program where literally they went against the grain and said, like, therapists need to be in therapy at least at some point in their life to understand how it works. And so, like, my supervision was like structured like therapy. So, and they encourage people, like, you should go to therapy yourself just so that you can make sure you're well. And so I can personally recommend therapy as being for people, no matter what stage of functioning they're at. When you're depressed, that's a barrier in the first place, right? And so it's hard to get yourself to do anything. Like, one thing you can do is to stop thinking about it and just do it. Don't wait for your mind to, like, be ready, because a lot of times they'll wait until they're ready to do something, and that day will never come, or it'll be far off in the distance whenever the motivation hits them. When in fact, like, Alcoholics Anonymous has a saying, move your feet and your mind will follow. And what I interpret that to mean is that, like, just do it instead of, like, waiting to be ready. Because, like, if you start doing it, then you might become, like, okay with it if you don't limit yourself. And so basically, like, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, kind of like just diving right in and, like, stopping any thoughts that say, like, I shouldn't do this, or, like, it's not time yet, or I can put it off. Like, go now, bring in this chair you speak of. Chair? I don't even remember what chair I was talking about. Let's see. I mean, another thing you could do is to ask for somebody in your personal life to motivate you. You could look forward, if you want to, like, comment in the future on this stream. Like, you could check in with us, in a future week. You could let us know, and then we could praise you and tell you, like, you did a good job. So that could be, like, a natural reward that you could set up for following through with talking to a therapist. So there are a number of things that might be helpful, and I hope that they are. Let's see, vitamin D, omega-3, magnesium. Yeah. So Richard Hart, our fearless leader, a genius, creator of HEX. He takes vitamin D. He actually said that it's an omega-3, which I didn't realize. For all the things I've learned about omega-3, there's vitamin D in it. But he takes omega-3 himself. I've taken magnesium before, and that helped to stop from getting muscle soreness if you do a workout. Let's see. Hemp seeds cover many bases. Misled about the benefit. One that's regularly missed, the benefit of CBD for your endocannabinoid system. Okay, very good. Excellent point. Okay, so when is Wales going? I don't think yet. Let me see. How do I go to his actual page? He's been getting an awesome amount of views. That's very cool. Oh, okay. He's live, but waiting. Okay. Okay. In 7 minutes. Perfect. We got perfect timing. Here we go. Which type of fish do you recommend that's best? Like which has the least mercury? Yes, the kind with the least mercury. So you have to be educated about like where your fish are coming from. And I would just say I would say Google it to find like, because there's lots of different kinds of fish. Some are going to be very rich in omega-3, others aren't. I like tuna and salmon, and those are ones that are high in omega-3. Thoughts on nootropics? I don't know. Like, there's not going to be a ton of stuff that you sell me on, but if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. Only 10% is pure suppression and FUD. I know, right? All healing starts in the gut. Very good point, Reggie Bone. 93% of people were in HEX. We can draw some conclusions from these polls, can't we? We only use 10% of our brain. We have all this junk DNA laying around. Sounds like a conspiracy theory to me. Absolutely, yes. Gut health is mental health. Very good. Biffness recommends a more adult definition of food and drugs. Food contains fiber. Drugs do not. This is a terrifying thought, but it's worth considering because reality seems to strongly agree. Well, Biffness, I think of when you went on the show with Joe Hexotic and you spoke so passionately about the healing powers of bananas and how much we all had a good laugh about it. But then like those of us who know you as one of the authorities in HEX, who's a reliable source of information in many domains, like those of us who know you, we we FOMO'd in on bananas. I'm not gonna lie. I got a banana in the fridge right now. Let's see. So thank you for your insights into that, because I didn't know about bananas. Let's see. Thank you. I think even asking you, this is a big step. Oh, awesome. We love it. Hope it goes better now. And I really hear you. I'll work on what you said. Thanks for carrying. Super nice. Yeah. Thank you so much. Well, I appreciate you considering that. Donnie Darko, Biffness. Yeah. Why don't you take off that stupid human costume? Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Very good. Very good. So, let's see. Gosh, now I got to fill like 4 minutes. Just ran out of content. Go to allmylinks.com/allin and see what I've been up to. See what I've been building from the beginning of my HEX journey of creating content to the end. Well, it's not the end because obviously I'm still here creating more HEX content than ever. But I'll go to all my links here on screen for you because I don't want you to get too long of a bathroom break before you head over to Whales Only. And so I'm gonna keep things continuous here. It always my heart breaks, whenever I'm watching a HEX stream and then like they end it 12 minutes before the next one. I'm like, come on, like you couldn't think of any and I think people, they're just like, there's no reason. You know what I'm trying to say. Here we go. You can see I suddenly got like much wider, so you can see that I opened up a new window. And I'm getting ready to share a screen with you that does not have all blackout on it. And here we go. allmylinks.com/allin. And of course, I talk about the first HEX conference. Here's my Staker app invite. And then you can see the section on watching the first HEX conference, and where you can get HEX badge NFT that is non-resellable. So like, sorry, it's not going to be worth $1 million because I programmed it. So you can't just resell it and make all these mad gains. The HEX badge is not about being a collectible to resell. It's about being a collectible, like, for you, to honor you, to reward you for doing something that was mentally healthy for yourself, that is delaying gratification for your future. I've got some exciting stuff to say about this, but I kind of promised that only the people that I would tell first, my Telegram group, they would get the first news about HEX badges. So all I'm saying is, if you want to find out, and I'm actually, for a limited time, forever now, I'm going to be giving my airdrop tips first in the HEX badges Telegram. So t.me/HEX badge without an S. HEX badge is where you join, and it's right here. T.me/HEX badge. Join the channel. I'm not going to blow you up. Leaving the notifications on for that, and you're going to get the first news that I've got when it comes to airdrops and when it comes to HEX badges. And the new systems that we're rolling out are going to take the cost from, like $30 per badge, and it shows up in your MetaMask wallet, versus in the future they'll be free, and they'll be on the blockchain, whether they won't necessarily show up on your MetaMask, but they'll be real and verifiable. And so check out that. Join the Telegram group. We've got all the different channels I'm on. Join Theta. That's going to relate to the NFT stuff. Twitch, DLive, not so much anymore. Periscope is converting in Twitter, but still get hundreds of views there. And then here's some links to help you with being involved with HEX, or to know what's going on. So you've got this is where you could send somebody who's new and they need to find out how to buy HEX, where to get help. So the HEX 24/7 community chat. If you post a question in there and then somebody from like support messages you directly, they're trying to scam you. So don't fall for that. Even if they have Kareem's voice and they call you, don't fall for that. People are getting scammed out here left and right. There's a reputation system in the HEX Telegram for a reason. T.me/HEX crypto. Taylor Kennedy's article about how to buy HEX in 3 easy steps. Then the 2 programs you need for that, MetaMask and ETHHEX.com, which is opened inside of MetaMask. How to stake HEX in 3 easy steps. And the website you need for that, go.hex.com/stake. Staker app allows you to monitor your stakes. I should change that to my referral link. Hex.com, of course, is a brand new website, new layout. The HEX contract in layman's terms, written by Nerd Girl, and then the one that was written by one of the devs, Kyle. The HEX immutable code that's shown on Etherscan. How you can buy a physical HEX coin from me. That's pretty cool. I'm going to start shilling those more. And then my content, just made a Discord. Not sure what a Discord is, but I made one. Twitter, HEX badge, my Medium articles. I have a really awesome mental health article about how crypto can solve mental health. And I worked for like a month on that. And it really took me like 3 years to put the ideas together for the Medium article there that is linked to in the description below, the specific one. HEX Cameo playlist is hexthescam.org. And hexcds.com takes you to, now that's what I call HEX Volume 1 HEX playlist, with over 18 songs that will educate you about HEX without lifting a finger. My Telegram, my Proton Mail, links to other content creators, including Cryptogramma Talks, So check out allmylinks.com/allin. And before you know it, it's 8:32. So we're going to see if we can get Wales only. He is live. So I'm going to put his link here in the chat so that everybody can see it. Thank you guys so much for another great stream. I really appreciate you tuning in to another episode of HEX Therapy Live. Go ahead and head over now to Wales Only, which is linked to on YouTube here. And I'm going to play an outro clip, and I will see you next time. I might stream tomorrow, but definitely on Saturday, there'll be 2 streams. So check them out. And until then, stake wisely, my friends.